So hi, Abhiraj. Great chatting to you, or getting the opportunity to chat with you again. But the thing is that we understand there's a lot of stress in the industry right now for obvious reasons. We also know that urban company has built itself over the years now, from 2014 to 2020 in a very rapidly. You are present across 14 cities. You're serving about 5 million people, if I'm not wrong, and you are now also available in three countries outside India, one being Australia. So we will start with how is Urban Company looking at this scenario, the COVID fight that we all are talking about these days. What are you doing as far as that is concerned? Let's start with that.
Thank you so much for having me, Ritu. It's an absolute pleasure to be talking to you and to be sharing my thoughts with your viewers. As you rightly mentioned, we are a 6-year-old company, and we are a horizontal home services platform. And what that means is that we offer a range of home services, beauty, wellness, men's grooming, and spa is a big part of our consumer offering. And we also have other services like home repairs, maintenance, etc. And now we are present in 22 cities across 4 countries. We have more than 30,000 service professionals who work exclusively with us, and we have served millions of consumers. I think COVID-19 is a very unprecedented event, and all of us know that. The last 2 months, many of us have woken up not knowing whether we just ended our dream or we are entering a new dream.
Or a nightmare.
Or a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I think it has been no different for Urban Company. We were amongst the first companies to recognize the impact of COVID-19. In early March, we had moved fully to work from home, and we had started to see the impact of COVID-19 on some of our service categories, beauty being one of them. I think I will say that how we have responded to COVID-19. I would say there have been 3 phases of that response.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could allow me a couple of minutes to talk about each phase.
Sure.
So I think phase 1 was the immediate response phase, right? Which was end of March, early April, soon after the lockdown.
Right.
In that phase, our complete focus was on providing for our 30,000 service partners. We realized that many of them will now have an extended period of time when they won't have any income.
Yeah.
So there were a bunch of things we did at that point of time. First and foremost, we had close to 6.5 crores worth of their money with us in the form of subscriptions and credits. And rarely do advertisers return back money, but as an aggregator, first thing we did was we returned back every single penny of whatever we had with them. Okay. So 6.5 crores was refunded.
So 6.5 crores is from the people who invest in you.
No, this is the service partners. So the service partners have to buy, leads from us, and they typically would buy upfront. Future leads and future orders, and so that money is sort of kept with us. So we sort of 6.5 crores was refunded. Additionally, we sanctioned 11 crores worth of zero interest loans to these partners, and more than 20,000 partners were made eligible for this 11 crore zero interest loan, no interest, delayed moratorium. We told them that only when business comes back do you have to pay us. And out of the 20,000 plus people who were eligible, 17,000 took this loan, and we distributed close to 8.5 crores already of the 11 crores. The third thing we did was we set up a relief fund where the founders, the employees of the company, and the well-wishers and investors of the company contributed 1.5 crores. and we are going to use this grant to help some of the most impacted professionals who are impacted both medically and otherwise. So these were some of the monetary assistances that we provided.
Yeah.
The second thing we did as part of our immediate response was we bought a COVID-19 health insurance and income protection plan for every single service partner free of cost. See, all our service partners have life accidental insurance anyway, and they also, some of them also have health insurance from the company. But this was an insurance that we bought for them over and above all existing insurances. And what this does is that in case they get COVID-19, uh, they will get up to 25,000 rupees in hospitalization reimbursement, as well as up to 14,000 rupees of lost income for the days that they could not work. And this is for all partners free of cost. This was a 3-month insurance plan that we had purchased till the end of June. We are now in talk with our insurers to purchase a 1-year long plan for all partners free of cost. So that was the second thing we did. So this was part of the immediate response towards our gig workers, our service partners. In phase two, which started sometime in April, we started to train all of them and started to put in place all the necessary safety protocols so that once businesses restarted, we know exactly what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And we defined a very simple 8-point safety protocol, 8 SOPs, which we started to systematically train all of our partners on. So the first of these SOPs was the distribution of protective personal equipment, which we categorize as masks, gloves, sanitizers, eyewear, and sanitization spray. You'll be amazed to know that since April, we have now reached out to almost all our partners and are distributing this. And by the end of May, we would have distributed more than 1 million masks and gloves, apart from all these other equipment, to our base of 20-25,000 active service partners. Our SOPs clearly say that after every service, the mask and the glove has to be thrown. And with every new service, a new mask and a new glove has to be. Right. And every month we are going to give this safety kit. So that was one. The second thing we started doing was daily temperature checks. In this, we have sent thermometers to all partners. And what we do is the first time round, we train them remotely to do a temperature check online. And thereafter, every morning, they have to do a temperature check. And then we have a machine learning algorithm that is able to detect that there is no anomaly, that is able to use an optical character recognition system to actually tell the temperature and is able to compare any anomalies and red flag it. And this is a very sophisticated system, so you can't gamify it. You can't take a photo, upload a photo. You have to real time do it. So combination of this remote temperature check mechanism plus this machine learning based system has already been put in place.
Is the third mission that you have done, or it's already existed? Oh, sorry.
No, this was completely built by us from scratch. Oh. It's completely our innovation. The third thing that we did was we designed a 7-day online training program, which has very, very small, minute aspects of what you need to do as far as safety and hygiene is concerned, taking into account all the prescribed guidelines by the World Health Organization. And we made it mandatory for every single partner to go through the 7-day program. And only when they complete this program and they are hygiene certified, are they allowed to resume work on the Urban Company platform. So I'm happy to say close to 98% of them have already gone through this, and the remaining 2% as and when they will go through it, they will get hygiene certified. Now we are also open sourcing this program for absolutely any beautician, any barber, any therapist to get certified. So that was the third. The fourth thing which we anyways have been working on was the use of single disposables and single-use sachets. So only one-time use sachet products as well as disposables only across all aspects of the service as much as possible, so that there's no cross-contamination. The fifth thing that we mandated was sanitization of every single tool at the beginning of the service itself. So right at the start of the service, the partner has to sanitize all the tools in front of the customer. So that was the fifth. The sixth and very important thing was, as you know, government is declaring many hotspots or what is called containment zones. And these are, every day they change. And it is very important that no consumer is served within the containment zone, and no service partner inside a containment zone is allowed to serve a consumer. So our technology, we quickly repurposed it to geofence a containment zone and ensure that no orders are taken and partners within the containment zone don't take orders outside. This technology now is so good, Ritu, that we have, the moment a containment zone is declared, in a matter of 5 minutes, it goes live on our platform as a containment zone. We have also marked red zones, yellow zones, orange zones, and green zones categorically on our app. So that entire sort of back geofencing was built out. The seventh thing, which is very important, was we moved completely to cashless online only transactions. No cash is now supported on the platform for all our services. The eighth, and very importantly, we put in place a program called Suraksha Holidays, or paid sick leave. See, what happens in the informal economy, and this is true for all beauticians and others, is even if they have some symptoms, they may not have fever, but they may have some of the symptoms like cough, cold, etc., etc. They may continue to work if they feel that their income gets impacted. And a lot of research exists from previous pandemics to talk about this. So what we put in place was a paid sick leave program where we said the moment you have the slightest of symptom, a simple cough or cold, tell us, we will give you a home quarantine and we will pay you to stay at home.
Sure.
We will then facilitate a telemedicine and doctor consultation for you. If that consultation shows that you need to get COVID tested, we will facilitate that COVID test, including paying for it. And if that COVID test is positive, then you will avail our insurance. So this is an end-to-end program that we put in place for all partners, and we tied up with a company called Pristine Care for the telemedicine platform and their doctors. It was very systematically done. So these 8 SOPs, we were able to design and put in place this entire process during the lockdown. And we used the lockdown time very efficiently to work hard and ensure that all these partners are not just in beauty, but across categories, are trained on this, are ready. Many of our and now I'll talk about phase 3, which is what is happening now as the lockdowns are being lifted, right? So as the lockdowns are being lifted, it's really important that all of these SOPs are followed. Many categories are opening up. Beauty has opened up slowly, only in orange and green zones, not yet in red zones. We have made a submission to the government requesting them to consider opening beauty in red zones. We have said that they should definitely consider allowing salons and spas to at least deliver services at home. If you see the parallel or the similarity with the restaurant industry, in the restaurant industry, the restaurant industry was allowed to do home delivery of food, even as dine-in operations remain suspended. And our submission to the government is that all beauty services should resume post the lockdown, but they should definitely consider salons, spas, and barbershops to allow for at-home services. Because in an at-home format, the service is delivered one-to-one. A single professional cannot do more than 2, 3, or 4 services in a day. There is no congregation that is happening, and that's one of the big concerns that government has, that if they have a blanket allowance of all salons, in India, the local barber shop basically sits below the tree, right? And so how do you allow for hygiene standards, etc., etc.? So what we've said is that, look, at the end of the day, 70 lakh professionals and their livelihood depends upon the beauty industry. So you must consider opening up the entire industry, and you must, if at all it has to be considered that a graded opening up happens, then we can take a parallel from the restaurant industry where home delivery of food was allowed, and we should start allowing salons and barber shops to do quote unquote home delivery of these services with the right safety protocols and the right guidelines. And we've sort of made these, these 8 SOPs that we've designed are publicly available now. So that's phase 3. But I think more than government, because government has a very difficult role to play right now. They have to balance between livelihood and lives. And in my opinion, the government of India has been absolutely phenomenal. In the first 6 weeks, the decisiveness with which they have operated, I have personally seen because of some of my work outside of urban companies, some of the philanthropic work that I do. I've personally seen how much many of them are working, and had it not been for the lockdown, we could have easily been in the million plus zone as far as cases are concerned right now. And today we are only at about 50,000. So I think kudos to the government for starting off on a very, very strong footing. I think the question really now is how do you balance livelihood and lives, as Prime Minister Modi ji said, Jaan bhi, Jahan bhi. And how do you ensure that there is a graded opening up
Yeah.
with the right safety protocols? So that's something that we are also thinking about as a company. Uh, the livelihood of our partners is important, but their lives is also important. Our customer safety is top priority. As you rightly said, in the last 6 years, the company has grown, and part of that reason is that customers trust us, and we don't want to take that trust lightly.
Correct. So that's like drawing a parallel between the restaurant and our industry is a little complicated, Abhiraj, because the home delivery guys and food services, they just deliver at your doorstep and leave. But here a person is entering your home, which is, and with all the technology that you have, the scope for human error is still there. Like a person who walks into the house may not obey all the rules, all the protocols that he's been asked to do, and then endanger not only that family where he is visiting, but also the entire brand name of, you know. So that's a huge fear that I think the brick and mortar people have, apart from, I'm sure that you do too. That how do you like ensure that this doesn't happen. The services get delivered, but yet you don't risk the brand, equity that you built over so many years.
I think it's a genuine concern, and you know, trust us when we say that um, it's sort of something that we are very concerned about because this is a brand that we have built with a
Yeah,
lot of hard work, and consumers trust the Urban Company brand. Um, my view is no process is 100% foolproof, and nobody can go out there today and say that their process is 100% foolproof.
sure.
uh, this is all about minimizing risk. This
Right.
isn't about saying we need to look for a foolproof process, because if we are looking for 100% ideal foolproof processes, then the reality is that for the next 18 months till there's a vaccine in place, we all have to stay at home
True.
and our businesses can't resume.
Okay.
And that will probably cause more damage to our economy than the virus itself.
Okay.
So I think this is about minimizing the risk. And I think the safety protocols that Urban Company has put in place significantly minimize the risk.
Right.
I also think that physical salons, um, which will resume operations and will follow the guidelines that have been prescribed by the Beauty and Wellness Sector Skill Council, will also significantly minimize this, because that's also a controlled environment. And they also have to ensure that they take online bookings and consumers don't necessarily congregate, which is a big risk. And you have to understand, Ritu, that a very small percentage of our salon industry is organized.
Yeah.
So when we say that all physical salons will follow the right safety protocols, 99% of the industry is unorganized, and who's going to ensure that they will follow it? Who's going to ensure that the local barber below the tree will follow all the safety protocols? So here's my view. I think this will be a contentious topic of debate,
Yeah.
within the beauty industry, and everybody from their vantage point thinks that they're the safest, because it suits them to have that view and that argument.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, and as they rightly said, if you're a carpenter with a hammer, everything looks like a nail,
Yeah.
right? So I think as an industry, it is very important to make a singular voice to the government that we pledge to certain safety norms, certain safety standards, and the government should consider opening up of the entire industry.
Sure.
And you know, from where we come, we are saying that if at all a graded opening up is to be considered, then one should look at home because it is significantly less riskier, uh, compared to the physical format. And I'm sure our friends in the physical format may have a differing opinion on that. But all of us are at the end of the day in this together. And I think the simple point that we all have is uh, that first and most importantly, this industry needs to get back on its feet and needs to resume operations. By the way, and you might find this interesting to note that just before COVID-19, we had actually identified, two locations in Bangalore to start physical stores. And our view is very, very strongly that that the physical industry will eventually bounce back and is here to stay. There are some services that are very difficult, if not completely impossible, to deliver in an at-home format. Particularly hair services, haircuts and hair spas and hair coloring, and these form a sizable percentage of the industry's revenues. And as urban company, this is probably very important for me to highlight. People look at us as many things. They look at us as an online player. They look at us as an at-home player. We don't think of ourselves that way. We think of ourselves as a company that wants to serve the interest of its users. And we think of ourselves as a company that is looking at whatever the users are doing and wanting to serve that. We saw that our users wanted at-home services, and therefore we started off with that. But we understand that our users will also want services eventually in the physical stores. And I wouldn't rule out urban company getting into physical salons. The only thing we are wedded to, the only thing we're wedded to, is providing a superlative experience to our users and being there for them in whatever format we can serve them. This is why we haven't just stuck to beauty services or to just spa services. This is why we also offer repair services. We also offer cleaning services. We also offer, painting services. If I had $1 for every time I was asked, how can you offer a service category like beauty and something like a plumber and a carpenter in the same brand name and the same roof? How is it possible? It will never work. And the number of people who said it will never work, but it's working because users, what they care about is a superlative experience at the right price. That's what users care about. And so, we're not wedded to saying we'll just do at home or we'll just do online. We want to be wherever the user is.
Okay. Now, that was very comprehensive, discussion about your, some very interesting steps you've taken for the COVID crisis. Now, lots of people are treating COVID, shutdown months as a phase when they are upskilling themselves or upskilling the staff online sector. Upskilling is a huge question, I think, especially for beauty services. From the urban company as well, because you're getting into, so the industry has demands of basic services, and they have, then you have the the luxury ones where you have the experientials, the high-end facials and so on, which I'm sure you're well aware of. So are you like kind of looking at segmenting the services at any point soon, or have you been training? How are you looking at upskilling?
That's a good question, and I can share with you some of my thoughts on segmentation. Some of this has already been put in the works in a few cities. So we've actually segmented the services into 3 buckets. One is the entry level, where we think, so when we look at the salon industry and the segmentation of the salon industry and the needs of the beauty consumer in India, we think there's an entry level, there's a mid level, and then there's a luxury category. The entry level is essentially a very, very large group of almost 25 to 30 million, or 2.5 to 3 crore women in India who avail beauty services every month, and who want all the basic services, be it waxing or facial or manicure, pedicure. But their spend basket is not more than 650 to 700, maximum 800 a month. That's how much they're spending. And they are not compromising on the set of services that they are availing. They are actually availing all the services. but they are availing it at a local mom and pop salon.
Yeah.
That's a very, very, very large segment, which is completely served by the unorganized market today.
Sure.
And we want to serve that segment with a proposition that we are now calling Salon Classic, which is our entry level segment, where we are bringing on board trained, verified, high quality beauticians, but who are early in their years of experience. We are providing good, high quality brands, branded products. Some of them are white labeled or private label products of Urban Company. And the bouquet of services that we have is also limited. It's not a very expansive bouquet. We our offering here is professionalism at a valuable price, right? So we are saying that we are offering you a professional service, but at market entry prices. So that's one segment, and we think this will be our biggest segment in the future. By the way, today it's a very small segment for Urban Company. What today is a big segment is the mid-tier segment, which is our classic salon at home segment. This is a segment where the average order value or the average monthly spend for the woman is about 1,200 to 1,400.
Right.
And these are, the top 8 to 10 million women. These are more the working women who have disposable income, middle and upper middle class.
Yeah.
And this has been the first mover for Urban Company. And that segment continues to be our bread and butter. And we are also launching a luxury segment now, where the best of the best beauticians in Urban Company who have great experience, who are rated 4.9 plus, we are specially trained for a completely different service experience at home. And there we are partnering with some of the best brands and offering an extremely luxurious experience at home. And here, the average order value is north of 2,500 rupees per service. So that's the entire segmentation, and we are calling that Lux, Salon Lux. So that's the entire segmentation from Classic, which is our entry level, to the core proposition, which is the mid segment, to Salon Lux.
Right.
As you can imagine, this will also be how we think about upskilling for our service partners.
Right.
So any partner who's joining us, unless they're very good, they will start off in the entry segment. They will prove themselves in the entry segment. They will get good ratings and good reviews. Then they will again go through a training program. Of course, every partner who joins us is trained mandatorily. And in the entry segment, we've actually increased the number of days of training compared to the mid segment. Then they again undergo another training to become part of the mid segment after they have done a certain bare minimal experience on the platform, achieved certain ratings. And from the mid segment, the very best move on to the Lux segment. So our complete proposition on the consumer side is mirrored on the supply side as well. And this is, by the way, not just true for beauty. This is now our thought process for a whole bunch of other service categories like plumbing and cleaning. We've taken inspiration from the cab aggregators like Uber, where Uber has Uber
Premium.
Uber Prime, Uber Lux, right? Different categories for different consumers. Of course, it only started with Black, but very quickly it went to Uber X and then Uber Go and also Uber Lux. So that's how we're thinking about it as well.
Great. So my next question very quickly is about your global experience so far. And like we were discussing, you had mentioned the other day that Australia never stops with beauty and wellness services. So we'd love to hear your experience about that.
Yeah, I think all the three countries that we are in, UAE, where we are present in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and more recently Australia and Singapore, where we are present in Sydney and in the Singapore city. In all of these, we have small operations in beauty. We started with home cleaning, and then beauty became the second category where we entered. I think the respective countries have had different responses to COVID, but certainly in terms of the beauty industry, what they've allowed for is very nuanced. So there has been no blanket approval saying everything is allowed, but it's very nuanced. So for example, the government of Australia has categorically identified what can be done, what type of services can be done, what type of services can't be done. And their marker has been very simple. Their marker has been that any service that can be completed in 30 minutes is allowed. and whether that is done at home or whether that is done in a physical format. And social distancing has to be maintained. So if you're in a physical store, between two consumers, there has to be 6 feet distance. Between the service professional or the beautician and the consumer, there has to be certain distance, and there are certain guidelines. And if you're at home, of course, those guidelines have to be followed, and social distancing is automatically ensured. But they have only allowed for 30 minutes. One commonality that I think we're seeing across these geographies is that governments are allowing for hair and nail, but are still skeptical around skin services for various obvious reasons. So they're saying that, look, as long as all protections are taken into account, we are allowing for haircuts, we're allowing for nail services, but we're not yet open to skin services. I do believe as part of their own graded responses, that will skin services will also open up, but it's a surprising consistency between these governments where we operate outside of India. I think these industries, we've been very surprised by the sophistication of the industry in Australia and the response. And we are taking some of our, Indian SOPs and best practices from our counterparts in these industries. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So that brings me back. So we have to circle back to our original question. I think these maybe in Australia there's a better representation of the industry to the government, that they have taken such a close look and then decided on services also, which needs to be done, how it needs to be done, etc. So, what is your final what should I say? But with respect to the government, we're going to be opening. You guys, I think, have started operating in the orange and the green zones. I don't know what the feedback has been for the past couple of days. That I think essentially just a few days that everything has just started slowly opening up.
I got a haircut yesterday from Urban Company, and I thought it was great. I was extremely happy with the safety protocols.
Yeah, in fact, I was looking for someone to do my hair. Then I decided, okay, let me go later.
But sorry, complete your question. I interrupted you.
Yeah. So what is it that the government, which part of the government? We know that MSME, of course, most of the salons and spas and businesses in our category come under the MSME category, right? Now, we also have several other agencies. We have the Ministry of Commerce, we have MHA, everybody, kind of coming out with all these new regulations. What is it that you suggest one should do as an industry to kind of maybe fasten the process of enlightening the government, at the same time the customer confidence, building the customer confidence? What should we do more so that we can be on ramp sooner rather than later?
I think my view is on this one is probably a bit different from what a few others would say. I think my view is that we should make our voice heard to the government. We should make representations to the government through the right channels, whether it's the Ministry of Home or the Ministry of MSME or the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. But at the end of the day, the time has come. It's a matter of time. Sooner or later, the restrictions will lift, right? It could be 2 weeks, could be 4 weeks, could be 8 weeks, but they cannot be restrictions on us forever. I think the focus of the industry now needs to shift to really understanding what the consumer wants. I think the consumer, has completely sort of, given this extremely tectonic structural shift in our industry, the consumer's preferences are dramatically going to change. Some of us, could continue to be living in our own bubbles and not wanting to see where the consumer is heading. When smartphones came, many telephone STD and PCO operators were resisting that change. None of them are in business today. So I think the real question for us is, do we want to be a part of the future, or do we want to resist the future? Because the future is going to come. And I think two things are going to be fundamental changes in our industry. The first and foremost is adoption of technology. We're never going to go back to the old way. every single salon, small, big, chain, at home, whatever it is, has to adopt technology like there's no tomorrow. They need to embrace online bookings to ensure the safety of their own consumers. Otherwise, consumers will walk in, and that will create congregation and that will create risk. So they have to overnight move to online booking platforms for 100% of their business, not 2% or 5% or 50%, 100% of their business. They have to move to cashless because cash transactions will not be in the best interest of their customers. And we know that this industry has historically been a cash driven industry. We know that. And we know that it hasn't got a great name from the government as a result of this, because a lot of the transactions happen in cash and are not made visible for GST transactions, etc., etc. We have to move now. We have to formalize as an industry. We can't live in the shackles of the previous era where transactions are in cash. Small part of it is we have to be a formal industry now for the government to recognize us, for the government to support us. Even if we're a small one salon shop, that has to embrace technology, that has to embrace 100% digital transactions and cashless transactions. Those two are, in my opinion, existential realities for everybody in this industry. And the third, which some people may agree, some people may not agree, time will tell, is the shift to at home. The consumer wants at-home services. I have no doubt about it. Urban Company has spoken to thousands of consumers. They see getting service at their home as a controlled environment where they're getting these services done. We can continue to believe that no at home can be risky, my own salon is safe, etc., etc. But if the consumer is not going to walk in, it's going to be challenging. So that's the third trend that we have to see. And the best we see at Urban Company, we say there are no value judgments. We don't say we are in this business or that business. We will do experiments and see which experiment scales. So learn from the consumer. Don't have value judgments about the type of business that you're in and what will succeed and what will fail. Do small experiments. Nothing stops a physical salon from going online. Nothing stops them from taking digital payment. Nothing stops them from trying out an at-home model in a safe way and seeing how consumers are reacting. And I think that's probably far more important than I think the government, it's important to make representations for the government, but the government will do what is right for us, for the broader society. We must get our voice heard, but we must also start quickly moving towards understanding the new direction in which this industry will move.
Sure. So, is there a kind of a target you have in mind as to when? Like, I know that COVID has made everything very uncertain. As to when you would like to, launch your first brick and mortar, and I'm asking this from that prompt you gave me on the fact that you were, you had identified two places in Bangalore. When do you see that happening? Say post-COVID, when things are up and about?
Not anytime soon, to be honest,
So,
Ritu. We would have launched them had it
yeah,
not been for COVID by now.
yeah,
But given COVID, we had to put pause on that effort.
sure,
And I think now we will wait till this is behind us. I can absolutely tell you with a very high degree of confidence that at some point of time in the future, maybe 3 years out or 4 years out, and you and I talk, you
yeah,
will see Urban Company in an omni-channel format. We've seen that succeed very, very well with
yeah.
a lot of other online retailers, be it
YouTube is
Nykaa,
happened.
be
Yeah,
it Nykaa has done it very well, Lenskart has done it very well, First Cry has done it very well. All of these started as online only and then moved to offline. Today, believe it or not, Lenskart has 500 eyewear stores. Nykaa has more than 100. First Cry has more than 100. Healthcart, which started as an online-only company, has now 400 Healthcart physical stores. So there are enough success stories of companies which have balanced both online and offline. My view is when we talk 3 years later, many of us will look like these omni-channel players. Some of us are saying, hey, we are online only, we are at home only. Some of us are saying, no, we are only physical, we don't embrace online. You will see an amalgamation. Almost all players will be, online, doing some at home, doing physical 3 years later, because that's how the fittest will survive. The fittest will embrace the changes that are happening in the industry will not have any value judgments on the kind of business that they are in, and will basically follow the consumer wherever the consumer is going.
Right. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic having that conversation. I'm sure there are lots of inputs for the industry. Thank you and have a great
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, Ritu. Take care. Bye-bye.